Hey y'all, it's Diana from the Dianaverse. I am up early morning on this full moon morning to do your full moon in Gemini forecast. As you can see, I am still a little sleepy, so excuse me for not being as presentable as I am sometimes. This full moon in Gemini, first of all, let me say happy birthday to all the Sagittariuses out there. It's Sagittarius sun time, so I want to say happy birthday for those making their solar return this lunation. And the full moon is always opposite the sun sign, so we have our full moon in Gemini during our sun in Sagittarius during this full moon. So this is the fire element, very strong fire element, because it is conjunct with Mars. Right now, Mars just moved into Sagittarius, and our air, which is the Gemini. Gemini is about duality. It's about me and the other, so it's a very social sign. That's why they're always quite chatty, full of ideas. Sagittarius is about our higher ideals when we're communicating, right? It's about learning. It's ruled by Jupiter, and it's about our higher spirituality. And so you get these two things together. You've got fire and air that can be quite volatile. It can be very inspiring if you have big projects. I would especially think about the things you might have started back in Gemini season when we had our Gemini new moon back in, let's say, early June, that late May maybe. Trying to think of the exact cutoff dates for Gemini right now. I just woke up. But think about the things that you're starting. You might have had your idea focused on a couple of different projects, right? Because Gemini is about more than one thing. It's that free range human out in the world, exploring, learning new things. So you may be making decisions about which way you want to go, one or the other. There's a square between, well, Pluto is in the middle of this square because Pluto is squaring Jupiter, and Pluto is also squaring Venus. And Jupiter is in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. So there's a lot of emphasis on our values, on our true aspirations, like the core things we really want in our life, what we value, what is going to bring the most harmony to our lives. And Pluto, as you might know, kind of shakes things up. It's really transformational and not always in a peaceful way. There's been some pretty dramatic stuff going with air and fire, right? With this Sagittarius Gemini axis thing going with the full moon. Had some really fiery, weird stuff, like this car that launched into the air and burst into flames at Niagara Falls checkpoint. Had the most drones for the Russian-Ukraine war that were launched at Kiev. That's like bombs coming through the air, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that the peace negotiations finally started just as the sun went into Sagittarius, because it's more about idealism and our overall goals. And it can be people feeling like my way is the right way. Sagittarius can sometimes be a little bit full of itself, we might say. Gemini keeps that more flexible. Gemini, reflecting back that Sagittarius sun, is like, well, what about this and what about that? Look at this from different perspectives. So it can kind of open up some of that fiery energy with a little air, a little more thought process going on, a little more communication. So I'm kind of feeling a lot of dragon energy around this particular lunation, right? Because the dragons are fiery, that's fire energy, and it's also air. That fire has to thrive with some air behind it. So you could have, I think of dragons as a protective force, they're guarding your most precious ideals. the things that you really want to see happen in your life in the world. The dragons can bring that forth and give you that drive, and they're also protecting you at the same time. So if you're building little altars for lunations, which I like to do, you could have a little dragon statue or a dragon with a treasure chest. I have a dragon that guards a round ball of garnet on my altar, because the garnet is more of a Scorpio ruled stone, but it's got that fiery red, that dragon energy, and it comes up from out of the earth, which dragons, are associated with that, like with the dwarves and that kind of mythology that's symbolic to me of my most deeply held projects. So you could use that. The stone I'm actually recommending for this lunation would be carnelian, which is ruled by Sagittarius, and it helps bring that fiery energy into something more stable, something that can be foundational. So carnelian helps give you focus, and it's got that nice orange fiery color. So, and it's got sometimes those black striations that kind of make it look like a dragon's eye. So that is my stone recommendation for this lunation. With all this fire and air, it can be easy to get ahead of ourselves, or to get maybe a little overly excited about some of the things we're trying to do. So keep in mind that quality of Gemini that is more sociable, the air quality, without getting overinflated. So we are in the shadow period for our next Mercury retrograde, right? It's not happening yet, but we're getting into the vibe of it astrologically, where Mercury is moving into, Mercury rules Gemini. So, take all these thoughts, all these ideas, maybe sit with them a little bit with some of that grounding fire energy, let it burn a little bit, because we may not have the clearest ideas yet of how to carry it out, but we're definitely solidifying the things that we want to work on. And the herb that I want to suggest for this lunation is going to be saffron, because it's kind of a holy herb, a sacred herb. It's a good thing to lay down at the feet of your dragon, where you're protecting this nugget that you're, this little coal, this ember that you're guarding, of what you want to build and put out. We're heading into the winter solstice time, so it's maybe not the time to put it out into the world, but it's the time to sit on it and have it kind of be burning and being nurtured by this kind of fire and air energy, getting ready for Imbolc in the spring. That's kind of when seeds start to emerge. Imbolc is associated with that time of year when maybe things aren't quite germinating yet, but they are starting to swell up and get ready to come forth in the world. That's in February, early spring. When you've got all your seed trays out and you've been ordering your seeds, you're getting ready to put things out for the next year. You're not quite in full growth yet, but you're doing that. So this is sort of a preparatory. You're going to sit with these things over this Mercury retrograde. You'll go back and forth, as Gemini likes to do, over an idea. As you plan, Sagittarius likes to have big plans and what they want to bring out in the world. So there's the sun coming up behind me as we have our full moon energy going on today and into tomorrow. So I hope this inspires you to think about some things. It's with that Pluto there and that kind of in between squaring, that's dynamic energy. It can be some tension. It's good to make plans, to be proactive, rather than having things that just fall out of the sky at you on fire, right? Where you have to react. Of course, if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably in that position where you can do that. You can plan the things that you want to happen to you, right? Some parts of the world, things are happening and you might not have as much choice, but hopefully you're not in that position. And I wish all the best energy to those in those positions where, hopefully they can make some better things out of it when the dust settles. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention is that along with all this fiery energy, we have the fire of the sun coming in. So the sun has been having some pretty big sun flares. That sends out like a lot of energy towards us. So there's solar flares that are hitting the earth right about now, the 27th. So that's an opportunity to have a lot more energy to bring about your plans and your ideas and really have inspired ideas about the direction you want to go in. So I hope that it's all inspiring for you and it's not fires that you have to put out, but fires that you are tending and that grow for your fortune. All right, y'all take care, and I will see you for the next new moon in a couple of weeks. Take care.